After 1 year and 2 months, The Broken Mirror Season 1 has finally come to an end. Since we first started the series, we were clueless as to what we were doing. All we knew is we wanted to make an amazing story that would be enjoyed by many. And I think we did that very thing because we started this journey with 63 subscribers and 0 Spotify followers. And now we have 443 subscribers and 643 Spotify followers and a wolf full of hearts. And this story will go down in history as the very first story we actually finished. But it was only possible with your help. Just listening to the story helps us immensely. As always, the parts before this are linked in the description. This chapter was written by Lazy and January. The art was done by Lazy, and for the voice actors, I'll be playing the narrator, Adrien slash Noir, and Blanc.
Hi guys, it's Lazy, and I just want to appreciate you guys so much for listening to this. And today I will be playing Marinette slash Ladybug, Nadja Chammack, and Lila.
Hello, for the final time in this season. I'm January and I'll be playing Alya and the agent.
The journey is finally coming to an end, but there are a few things to look forward to. One, we will have a season 2 of this series. And two, there will be a full movie of The Broken Mirror if you want to watch that. And three, there will be a lot more series after this one. Now, what you've all been waiting for. Chapter 26, Secrets and Lies. The finale, part 3.
What?
Ladybug backed up from Alya, who was still staring at the floor.
I always know.
Alya whispered again. She looked different, pained almost.
How?
Ladybug stuttered, confusion clouding her thoughts. Just then, another person rounded the corner behind Alya.
Because I know.
It was Lila. Ladybug gasped and her eyes flicked between the two of them.
What?
A wicked smile filled Lila's expression and she stopped behind Alya.
Why don't you tell her, Alya?
Lila paused, resting a hand on her shoulder.
Why don't you tell her about everything you've ever done in the past to hurt Marinette?
Alya stayed quiet under Lila's grasp. Lila narrowed her eyes on her and tisked.
The truth hurts, Alya.
She moved her hand and walked towards Ladybug.
Let's start with the time Marinette was expelled.
Alya winced at the mention of it, and Ladybug's eyebrows furrowed.
I mean, obviously I couldn't have pulled off that little stunt by myself. I did all the heavy work, yes. Stealing the exam sheet, planting it in your backpack, but
She glanced at Alya.
Alya distracted you, misled you, and covered my tracks.
Ladybug's eyes widened.
But I knew it was you, Alya, she...
Then it hit her. All that time, when Marinette was trying to explain how Lila lied, Alya was always the one to stomp on the idea, telling her how amazing she actually was. Lila chuckled in Ladybug's lack of voice.
Everything Alya did had a motive behind it. Alya?
Ladybug stuttered, hoping Alya would tell her Lila was lying. Alya lifted her head and met eyes with Ladybug. Tears ran down her face and Ladybug's heart stopped. It was true.
I'm so sorry.
Her voice quavered.
No.
Ladybug breathed, unable to accept it.
No! Then why befriend me? Why?
Lila smiled maliciously.
Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Before you were chosen to be the new Ladybug, we were watching Wing Fu, or as you called him, Master Fu. We watched him for months until we found out that Hawkmoth wanted the Miraculous. Wang planted your Miraculous in your room, and we knew we had to get close to you somehow. Alya volunteered herself, and you two became friends surprisingly fast. And it only proved your bond when you saved her behind that car.
Lila watched as everything clicked inside of Ladybug's head. How everything about Alya was carefully curated to be friendly enough to lead suspicion away from her. Alya, fond of superheroes since the beginning, always seemed to be there for Marinette, always wanting to figure out Ladybug's identity. But what made it worse is how she was new to school. She should have noticed it from a mile away, but she was too distracted by their friendship.
Alya has been on this the whole time. The notes were her idea, and she knew they would be enough to distract you. She even went as far as planting the first two.
As absurd as it sounded, it made sense. When Lila bumped into Marinette at the Christmas light show, it was meant to clear Alya of suspicion for her to slip it into her purse during the show, when she was too involved in her own thoughts. Lila laughed.
Now, one of the best parts is when she changed your final scores to failing scores to make you even more out of it. No!
Ladybug choked out again, a tear escaping. Alya wasn't who Lila said she was. She just couldn't. Or at least she wanted to believe it. Ladybug's heart felt like it was breaking into a million pieces. The person she trusted the most, her best friend, had been deceiving her all along. Lila continued with a venomous smirk, reveling in Ladybug's anguish.
And that's not even all. You willingly told her your identity. Of course, she already knew it, but the satisfaction of you telling her.
She smiled triumphantly to herself. Ladybug's mind raced. Memories of all those moments when things seemed off, when Alya had somehow unintentionally sabotaged her efforts, now made sense. The betrayal stung like nothing she had ever experienced before.
Why? Why did you do this, Alya?
Ladybug asked, her voice trembling with emotion. Alya finally looked up, her tear-streaked face showing a mix of guilt and pain.
I'm so sorry. I know you're a good person, but
Lila interjected, her voice dripping with disdain.
Oh, please, Alya. Don't pretend like you didn't enjoy every moment of it. You loved being in control, pulling the strings from the shadows, making her suffer.
Alya's gaze wavered, and she looked back down, unable to refute Lila's claims. Ladybug felt torn inside. Part of her wanted to believe that Alya could still be redeemed, that the friendship they once had was real, and that there was a way to fix things, but another part of her couldn't ignore the truth in front of her.
And even more so,
Lila paused, watching Ladybug carefully.
giving her the miracle box.
Alya turned the corner and came back with a black spotted miracle box. She opened her mouth to speak.
I, Alya Cesare,
She paused, her body glowing.
pledge to become the one and only guardian of the miracle box.
The box changed once more. It changed to a geometric shape with many sides. The whole thing was a deep orange with a lighter gold rim to trace the sides. Ladybug's expression changed from confusion to fear laced with failure.
No, 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 no!
Ladybug cried. She had given them what they were after. The Miraculouses were theirs. The Commies were theirs. The deception had worked. They had won.
You lost, Marinette.
Lila sang. Alya reached into one of the openings and pulled out two Miraculouses. The Turtle Miraculous and the Ox Miraculous, slipping her wrist into the bracelet and putting on the nose ring.
Ways, stomp, unify!
She declared, a mixture of a turtle and ox costume taking over her appearance.
Shelter!
She yelled and wished the green shelter separated Ladybug from Alya and Lila. She spoke the words to use Stomp's power on the shelter. There was a low rumble that echoed throughout the sewer system, followed by the sound of concrete cracking and falling into the water. Moments of silence passed until another figure turned the corner and stopped next to Lila. Blanc.
Blanc. Nightmareful.
Ladybug breathed, her voice cracking. Lila blinked a moment, registering what Ladybug had said.
Oh!
She laughed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you.
Ladybug furrowed her eyebrows again. What was she going to tell her this time?
Nightmareful was never a threat.
She tilted her head mockingly.
But you said Hawkmoth created him and he...
She paused, realizing she shouldn't have trusted anything Lila said after she revealed everything she did. Lila smiled an uncomforting smile. After lying and deceiving her so many times, Ladybug didn't know what to believe.
I created him. For you.
Ladybug's eyelids fluttered, unsure if blinking would set off something.
All of the information I gave you was made up. And now, since our work here is done, you can have him back. All we needed was you alone.
With the snap of her fingers, Blanc was engulfed into a purple ether. Only seconds later, Noir fell to his knees, an muck emerging from one of Lila's multicolored wristbands, cleansing itself before being carried by the small gust of wind. Ladybug rushed to his side and helped him up. Lila smiled once more.
Take care of him. We'll be on our way now.
She turned around.
Lila, wait!
Lila looked back at them, and Ladybug's eyes narrowed at her.
You said everything you did had a reason. Why the photos?
Lila slowly looked at Ladybug, a scheming smirk playing against her lips.
Tune into the news at 5 p.m.
She chuckled, turning on her heel. Though Alya didn't follow. Lila looked over her shoulder.
Alya, what is with you today? Come on.
She grabbed Alya's wrist and tugged on it. Alya didn't budge.
Marinette, I'm sorry.
Alya stared directly into Ladybug's eyes, a different tone taking over. She sounded sincere. Real. Ladybug didn't know what to believe. She thought she had known Alya, but maybe not. Alya's face turned blank and she turned around, following Lila. Something was going on. Ladybug felt Shat move in her arms once they left.
Shat, are you okay?
She exclaimed. Chat Noir nodded and held her close. She's a psycho, he whispered in disgust.
Alya,
Ladybug uttered, the feeling of loss engulfing her. Chat Noir shushed her. Shh. I know. Ladybug closed her eyes and let Chat Noir rock her back and forth. She tried to calm down, but her mind kept reminding her of every incident where things didn't make sense, where Alya fit perfectly. She let out a stifled cry and Chat Noir held her close. Chat Noir reached behind him and pulled out his staff. The small screen turned on and displayed the time. Milady, it's almost 5. Ladybug's stomach dropped.
We have to stop whatever she's doing.
Chat Noir nodded and released Ladybug from his arms. She's Lila. She probably has multiple backup plans. Even if we stop one photo, she'll release more in its place.
You're right, but which ones is she gonna use?
Ladybug asked, knowing neither of them knew. We're gonna find out soon. Let's get out of here. Chat Noir got on his knees.
Wait, we shouldn't go up there. That's what she'd expect us to do. We can't risk that.
She pulled him back to the floor. He nodded, studying her face. Let's at least go over there. Chat Noir slowly got up, extending his hand for her to grab. Her mouth formed a small smile. Losing a friend hurt her more than anything else. She gripped his hand and allowed him to help her up and led her to the small room.
Chat, they have it.
She looked at him.
The miracle box. It's theirs.
She stifled a sob, and Chat Noir's eyes widened. How? You're the guardian!
I'm not. Not anymore.
She cried into his shoulder. He grabbed her shoulders firmly and pushed her back. Lady, how? He asked sternly.
I was stupid. I thought I could trust Alya. She backstabbed me.
Tears ran down her face, and Chat Noir pulled her into a hug. We will get it back. He whispered into her hair. Ladybug shook her head.
It's not possible. Alya would have to relinquish guardianship to me, and I don't think she would do that.
He sighed. He was about to ask something before another voice spoke.
Good evening, everyone.
They recognized this voice and searched for where it was coming from. Nadja? Chat asked, lifting the screen on the laptop Lila had used. The screen changed and Nadja Chammack was sitting on a couch, her hands folded in her lap.
Another anonymous sender has let us know about Ladybug and Chat Noir's romantic situation. Ladybug and Chat Noir are indeed dating.
A photo of them kissing faded in. Ladybug blushed lightly.
But that's not all. Chat Noir has been cheating on Ladybug with civilian Marinette Dupenchang.
Ladybug let out a gasp as a photo of Marinette and Chat Noir dancing and kissing on the Eiffel Tower popped up. They were so high up, there was no way Lila could have gotten a photo of them together. But there it was, being aired to the entire city of Paris and possibly cities around them.
If you thought this was over, you'd be mistaken. Marinette Dupenchang has also been cheating on Chat Noir with the famous model Adrien.
Another photo popped up, this time Marinette and Adrien sitting at a park bench, their lips centimeters apart. Ladybug turned to Chat Noir.
That's not true, Chat. You know I don't like him anymore.
His eyelids fluttered. I know, don't worry. His gaze softened when it landed on her. I trust you. The screen changed as if someone was hijacking the audio and video.
Ladybug and Chat Noir, thank you for the gift.
The woman talking held the new miracle box and didn't look familiar, but the two people behind her did, Lila and Alya. Ladybug quickly pulled out her yo-yo and hit record.
Now you're gonna bring us your own Miraculouses.
Ladybug turned to Chat Noir, their minds already buzzing for loopholes. The woman on the screen smirked.
And if you're thinking of deceiving us, just know you won't stand against a whole city of supervillains. Meet us on the Eiffel Tower.
She held up the butterfly brooch, and both Ladybug and Chat Noir gasped. She snapped, and the screen went dark. Who was that? Chat Noir asked. And why did she have Hawkmoth's Miraculous? Ladybug pulled up the recording and played it back, this time watching for the hidden details. She studied the appearance of the woman. She wore a black suit with rectangular glasses on the bridge of her nose. Lila and Alya stood obediently behind her, their gaze landing on the floor in front of them. On the brooch the lady was wearing there was a logo. It was the Earth and an arrow surrounding the Earth, with the letters W-A-S-H.
W-A-S-H.
Ladybug whispered, opening a new search browser. She typed in the letters and only one response showed up. It was a climate activist group? World Army of Superhumans. Chat Noir replied.
How did you...
Ladybug questioned. My father used to tell me stories about it before my mother died.
Superhumans.
Maybe Lila wasn't lying earlier when she said she was lying about being a superhuman. There was a constant drip that echoed throughout the sewer system every second, and it annoyed Lila more than Marinette did.
You think that was enough to confuse her?
Alya asked, turning to look at Lila. Lila stared ahead of them.
Your performance was good. She thinks you cared and there's still a part in you that did.
Alya wiped her under eyes with her thumb to get rid of the moisture.
I think I might have exaggerated it a little too much.
Lila smiled.
Don't worry, you could see it on her face. Your actions spoke louder than any of my words. She still thinks the Alya she knew was in there.
Alya laughed.
She's really pathetic, you know. She always goes on about how friendship is key. It was so hard not to laugh in her face when she started crying.
Lila fought back a cackle.
God, superheroes are stupid.
Yeah.
Alya pulled out her phone.
It's almost 5. Do you think they'll be up there by now?
Lila shook her head.
If I've learned one thing about them, they're too curious. They'll always follow the breadcrumbs you leave. But they like to bend the rules and think that I expected them to go up. If I'm right, they stay down here.
She finished with a smirk. In her pocket, Lila's phone began vibrating. She pulled it out to see the number as no caller ID. She sighed and brought it up to her ear.
What do you want?
Lila scoffed.
That's no way to talk to your mother, daughter.
The voice said, and Lila narrowed her eyes.
I presume you have what we asked for?
Lila stayed quiet.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Meet me on top of the Eiffel Tower.
The line disconnected and Lila lowered her phone.
Who was it?
Alya asked.
Agent.
Lila replied smugly.
Still refusing to call her mom?
Alya joked. Lila didn't look at Alya.
She's not my mom.
Did they ask for the box?
Lila didn't reply.
You know, we shouldn't give it to them.
Alya paused, her voice dropping a level.
We both know what they're gonna do.
Lila glanced at Alya.
We can't really hide it. They'd find it eventually.
Alya was quiet for a moment.
We could go to...
No!
Lila snapped.
Our work here is done. We're not going back. They probably won't even trust us.
Alya blinked.
Just saying. What if we told them the truth?
No.
She said sternly.
We have to go to the Eiffel Tower.
She repeated their objective as they got closer to the exit.
Right.
Alya said with a lack of emotion. After the sudden interruption of the 5 p.m. news, Ladybug and Noir made their way to the Trocadero where they had a view of the Eiffel Tower. They exchanged a look and Ladybug brought out her yo-yo, changing into photo mode and zooming in on the top of the tower. There she saw a woman from the video, still holding the miracle box. We're definitely not giving up on Miraculouses, right? Chat Noir asked, giving Ladybug a sideway glance, trying to find comfort in her. She shook her head, trying not to sound scared herself.
Never.
He nodded. We should be prepared for anything then. Try that lucky charm of yours. Ladybug threw her yo-yo in the air and said the words. Before she can get a good look at it, a group of people noticed them.
Hey, look, it's Ladybug and Cat Noir!
From there, a group of people stared at them and began asking questions about their dating status and if they were indeed cheating on each other. Ladybug gulped and nodded at Chat Noir that they should leave. She held onto the lucky charm and brought out her yo-yo once more, zipping to the Eiffel Tower's middle platform. Ladybug sighed, watching the crowd of people clamor to get a good view of them. There were reporters joining the crowd and police keeping the loud and curious citizens at bay. She turned her head to face Chat Noir and pulled out her lucky charm. It looked like a walkie-talkie, but with 4 antennas and a knob.
What do you think this is, Chat?
She asked Chat Noir, handing him the device. I don't know. What's it showing you? He asked, knowing her vision helps her come up with plans. She looked around in every direction, nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing.
She leaned against the metal frame as Chat Noir handed her the device back. She took it and examined it once more, twisting the knob once and looking around to see if anything changed. She turned it in the opposite direction. Chat Noir grabbed her hand and squeezed it reassuringly. I don't know what's going to happen next, and quite frankly, I don't care. All I want you to know is I love you, forever and always. She smiled, a blush creeping its way onto her face. After all this time, he still managed to make her insides mush.
I love you too. It's you and me.
Against the world, he continued, a cherishable smile on his lips.
Always.
She finished.
Come on, we have to get the Miraculous back.
She pulled out her yo-yo and grappled at the top of the tower, Chat Noir scaling the tower behind her. Ladybug overshot, and just as she landed, Chat Noir appeared next to her. The same woman from the video held the new Miraculous box, and behind her were Lila and Alya standing. They looked emotionless, like they were being controlled.
I see you both finally made it. Hand over your Miraculous, or we'll do this the hard way.
The lady spoke, her voice calm but authoritative. Ladybug looked at Alya, her ex-best friend. Her heart tugged, but she pushed her feelings aside and stared at the lady. She glanced towards Chat Noir, who began slowly pulling off his ring. The lady smirked, but it quickly faded when Ladybug pulled out her lucky charm. This time, the knob flashed in her signature red with black spots pattern. Ladybug glanced up at the lady who spoke.
Hand that over. He won't be needing it anymore.
She outstretched her hand and lunged towards her to grab the lucky charm, but Ladybug quickly twisted the knob, noticing nothing changed. The lady turned her head to face Lila and Alya, who, to Ladybug's surprise, were kneeling against the floor like they had fallen. Ladybug noticed something was different in the air, and she turned to Chat Noir, who by the look on his face noticed it too. Lila got up first, stretching her body while glancing at Alya.
It's good to be back, wouldn't you agree, Alya?
100%.
Alya said, stretching her arms to the side while nodding. Lila cracked her knuckles and ran towards the lady, Alya running after her. Lila swiped her leg at the lady's feet, while Alya punched her in the face. Lila threw punches left and right, but the lady dodged all of her attacks, and she kicked the miracle box to the center of the tower.
Get the miracle box!
Lila managed to yell while holding the lady in a headlock. Alya's beside them, coughing up blood. The woman choked and grabbed Lila's arm, put her over her head in which Lila landed on her back, the sound of breaking bones echoing. The woman turned to Ladybug and she smirked at the fear in her eyes.
Shall I get the miracle box and help Alya and Lila?
She yelled, pulling out her yo-yo and spinning it so it would act as a shield.
Let's make this a fair fight, shall we?
She declared, securing the butterfly brooch on her suit.
Dark wings, rise!
Ladybug shielded her eyes from the light of the transformation, but when she looked back, there she was, in a new costume. She opened the head of her staff and an Akuma fluttered out of it. Ladybug watched in horror as the butterfly landed on Alya's glasses.
Shadow Master, I grant you the power to move between shadows, and in return you give me Ladybug and Chat Noir's Miraculous.
The woman explained.
Fight it, Alya!
Ladybug screamed, but it was too late. Alya was consumed in a purple ether, and when it disappeared, Shadow Master vanished into the shadows. Ladybug whipped her head around, trying to figure out where she went, before suddenly Shadow Master reappeared from the shadows behind Ladybug and began choking her. Ladybug kicked her and backhand sprung away. She assumed a fighting stance but didn't attack. She was still Alya, and now the real her was back. The lady stepped back and turned to Chat Noir, but Lila stepped in front of Chat Noir.
She's mine. You get the miracle box to safety.
Chat Noir grabbed the box and ran off the tower as Lila spat out blood mixed with her saliva.
It's time we finish this.
She rolled up her sleeves and charged towards the lady. The lady held her staff out at Lila's head level, hoping to knock her out, but Lila ducked under it, running behind her and kicking the back of her knees. The lady didn't even flinch, so she hard in the head with her staff. Lila collapsed to the ground where the lady repeatedly pulled her staff down on Lila. Lila wrapped her legs around the lady's feet and knocked her down. Lila attempted to get up while the lady was temporarily knocked down, but the lady got up quicker and raised her staff to hit Lila again. Lila shielded her face just as Chat Noir stepped in, using his extendable staff as a sword. The lady pulled her staff back, and Chat Noir took this as an opportunity to extend his stick to knock the lady backwards. The lady groaned as she hit the floor, and Chat Noir extended his arm to help Lila up. Looks like I got back in time, huh? He joked, as Lila accepted his hand. He turned his head as he noticed from the corner of his eye the lady regaining her footing and ran towards them. Chat Noir held his staff in hand and blocked her attacks. Go help Ladybug, he said, noticing how battered up she looked. Lila nodded and jogged over to Ladybug, who was having trouble getting Shadow Master to stay put.
Need some help?
Lila asked, a smirk forming on her bloody face. Shadow Master formed in front of them. Ladybug attacked first, only for her to disappear again. When she appeared, Lila attacked, but she outsmarted both of them. Shadowmaster dodged attacks left and right, one after another. Lila knew she had to somehow trap or outsmart her to get the akumatized object.
Timer can only last for so long, but making a trap might work.
Lila thought.
Ladybug, follow my lead.
Lila directed, to which Ladybug followed because it sounded like she had a plan. Lila attacked Shadowmaster, trying to make her retreat into the warm embrace of the shadows, but she wouldn't. Finally, Lila coaxed her into the shadows, but she didn't return. She was gone longer than 10 seconds, and Lila stood behind Ladybug. They turned their heads around, waiting for Shadowmaster to reappear. They waited patiently, and eventually she did.
She's here. Bring her to me.
Lila demanded. Ladybug did as she said and wrapped her yo-yo around Shadowmaster, pulling her towards Lila. Lila grabbed the glasses on Shadowmaster's shadowy face and snapped them in half. The Akuma flew out of the glasses before them, and Ladybug caught the dark butterfly. Lila focused on Alya, who had realized what was happening. Chat Noir grunted behind them, and Ladybug whipped her head around to see Chat Noir on the floor and the lady taking her first step towards Ladybug, Lila, and Alya. Chat Noir stretched out his arm and held onto the lady's ankle. She turned around.
My, you never learn when to quit. Now do you?
She sneered, stomping hard on his hand. Chat Noir retracted his hand in pain, and the lady stepped over him and pushed Lila and Alya out of the way, singling out Ladybug. Ladybug froze.
Is this really it?
She thought, as the lady grabbed Ladybug's throat and began choking her. The lady narrowed her eyes on Ladybug.
It's over, and I should collect my reward after your death.
The lady looked at Ladybug's earrings. Ladybug choked.
This was it. The end of Ladybug.
She stared into the lady's eyes, begging her to stop, but she didn't. Her mind began playing all of the memorable times, the times where she began feeling differently about Chat Noir, when Adrien became a close friend. A tear slipped out of her eyes. She thought about her prom night. Chat Noir made it perfect. It would have been for nothing if she died then. Ladybug tried to push the lady's hand away, but she pushed harder, and Ladybug felt like her head was about to burst. Suddenly, through the corner of her eye, she saw Chat Noir trying to get up. She urged him on her head, and black spots developed on her vision. She heard Chat Noir call for his cataclysm before everything went black. After what she hoped was for a couple of seconds, she was on the floor, the black spots from her vision disappearing. She looked up in horror to see the lady holding Chat Noir's hand against the tower. She saw the terrified expression on Chat Noir's face. His eyes widened in shock. The Eiffel Tower creaked beneath them, the color quickly changing into a dark gray. The metal gave in and the tower began tilting toward the sea. Lila got up from the floor and ran toward the lady.
This ends now!
She screamed, using her own body weight to push the lady over. The tower shifted down, and Ladybug regained her strength enough to get up. She heard a small, quiet voice calling for help. She turned her head in every direction until her gaze finally landed on Alya, who was holding onto the disintegrating railing over the edge. Ladybug didn't hesitate for a second. She ran towards Alya, but by the time she was there, the railing gave in, and Alya fell.
Alya!
Ladybug screamed, jumping after. The tower began gravitating towards the Seine, and Alya was falling faster.
Alya, please, no, don't leave me.
Ladybug whispered, a tear trailing up her temple and up onto her forehead. She reached for her yo-yo and threw it towards Alya, the tower collapsing around them. Her yo-yo wrapped around Alya, but they were losing altitude fast. Ladybug's mind raced with memories. From the first day of school to the time she told Alya she was Ladybug to every single time she tried to set her up with Adrien. The tears flowed out of her eyes and into the air around her. The ground was nearing, and she pulled at her yo-yo to bring Alya to her. Instead of that, the yo-yo unraveled itself from Alya's body, and she began free-falling to the ground. Ladybug cried out, her heart stopping as she saw her near the ground. Ladybug threw her yo-yo up towards the tower to stop her fall, and she hung there for a second, processing what happened.
Alya?
She breathed, the tears falling more violently. She scaled the rest of the tower down to the ground where she ran to the spot where Alya fell. It was covered in rubble, and Ladybug began frantically searching the rocks. A hand placed on her shoulder, she turned around to see Chat Noir, and her heart lifted as she saw the lucky charm in his hand. There was still hope. She grabbed it and threw it into the air, barely breaking the words.
Miraculous Ladybug.
The ladybugs flew in a calculated formation, fixing the damage of Chat Noir's cataclysm and the surroundings. The rubble cleared, and there was no sign of anyone. Not Lila, not the lady, and not Alya. Instead, there were glasses folded neatly on the concrete. Her body heaved and she fell to the floor. Any trace of them was gone. Alya was gone.